Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. Thanks for joining me. Today we have a Cook With Me series recipe. In one of the more recent episodes, we did a grilled whole chicken. You can still hear it. I'm a little bit nasally still, but I was making some chicken to eat a little bit of it. First real protein I would be eating it almost 4 days. I've been sticking to a lot of soups and just some breads and things of that nature because I wasn't feeling too great. But I ate a little bit of that whole roasted or whole grilled chicken, and we're going to use the rest of it today. So we were trying to build some recipes on top of each other so that we could utilize the whole bird. So we have the whole roasted chicken where I was able to eat lunch off of that. Just take a little bit off for that, but I have a lot of it left that we're going to put towards this chicken soup because I'm going to want to eat chicken soup later on tonight. I'm still taking it a little bit easy from, kind of catching up in terms of my health and feeling a little bit better. But then after that, the next step after that is we're going to be able to utilize, what's left of that from when we pulled all the chicken off. We're going to put that with some other chicken that we have in the freezer, some other, parts and things like that with some vegetables, and we're going to make our own homemade stock. I'm going to use up what stock I have making the chicken soup for dinner tonight, so I'm going to want to replenish that. So hopefully you guys see a little bit of a sequence within some of the cooking videos from the last one to this one to the next one as well. They may not come out in order. We may throw in a ride or something if I'm feeling a little bit better, but you get the idea. We're just trying to utilize some ingredients. I think we maybe spent $6 on that whole chicken. I was able to get, like three or 4 ounces off of it for lunch today, just to get something in my body. Now let's get to that soup. We got some vegetables to cut up here, so let's jump right in. All right, so we have, we're gonna put in some onions. I like a little bit of shallot, just a slightly different flavor. I have some garlic. We're gonna throw in a couple of cloves of that. And I cheated a little bit. I have these carrot sticks. I do have some actual like a big bag of carrots, but I'm gonna actually save that for the chicken stock. So let's go ahead and get in here, and we're just gonna get some of these things sliced up, and then we're gonna get them into the stock pot and then start getting them going. Probably just gonna save this little bit for something else. Just like a little bit of shallot flavor. I really like shallots actually a lot. Actually, you know what? I am gonna use the big one. So I'm gonna use the big one. Let's get this stuff peeled off. I don't have the best knife skills. I'm not fast at it. But, things need to be somewhat consistent of a size, because that means that they're cooking a little bit more evenly. Anyway, I'm gonna cut this core out here. See this part? I'm just gonna cut around that. That's not necessarily something that that I want. I'm sure there are a lot of people out there that'll be like, yeah, no to these, to this particular slice of things, but you know what? It's I'm just giving you an idea for the recipe. I like a little bit bigger chunks of onion in my soup. I don't mind that they kind of like squish down a little bit. They cook down. They give some nice flavor. We're gonna sweat these first so they develop a little bit of color and a little bit of flavor. We're not gonna caramelize them by any means, but then we're just gonna sweat them down. And you know what? I read somewhere that garlic and onions are good for you when you don't feel well. So I'm gonna go with that as that being a good thing. Just putting it into this bowl here. See what we're working with. I'm gonna put a little bit of olive oil on this, and then I put some veggie sprinkles on them as I start to sweat them down a little bit. So, carrots. Again, I'm cheating with this bag. My big bag of carrots, I am going to save that for my stock. I'm just gonna get these roughly the same size. It doesn't have to be perfect, right? A lot of people get hung up on the exact recipe and the exact measurement. I think those things are probably really important when you have a pretty good idea, but I don't think it's always 100% necessary to be precise. Baking, yeah, like, you know, baking I want to be a little bit more precise. There's a reason I don't bake. But when it comes to, I'm just kind of eyeballing it here, right? Like, how much chicken do I think that I have? So how many vegetables am I gonna need? Celery is eventually gonna go in this too. I don't like the celery kind of like as cooked quite as much as the other vegetables. So I'll put that in a little bit later. And I actually have a little bit of kale to go in it as well. So quite a bit of vegetables to work with. So I'm just kind of eyeballing it. It looks about right. I've got a pretty good sized pot, and I'm just gonna make it and eat it and put the leftovers in the freezer for an easy weeknight dinner or on another night when I just don't feel all that great. But we're gonna go ahead and get this in. We're gonna get these vegetables sauteing. I'm gonna drizzle a little bit of olive oil on these. I'm gonna put some veggie sprinkles on. I haven't forgotten about the garlic. As I'm sauteing it, I don't want the garlic to burn at all, so I'm gonna put that in a little bit later, probably with the celery. So we'll definitely put the garlic in. Everything's gonna sit for a few minutes, right? Everything's gonna sit, it's gonna marry on low temperature for a while, and that's gonna help it kind of just all come together. So here we go, just kind of mix this up. Veggie sprinkles, you know, it's out of San Antonio, a place called Bollner's Fiesta Products. So I just put veggie sprinkles on anytime I'm making vegetables, almost any time. So these are gonna go in, we're gonna get these sauteing, and then we'll go from there. I need to wash my hands. All right, might be a little bit of an overkill on the stock pot, but that's okay. Let's get a little bit of olive oil in there, get that up to temperature, and then we're gonna add our vegetables to sweat and saute them out. All right, let's get these in here. Let's get them sweating. Just a little saute, a little bit of color. We're not caramelizing anything. A little bit of color on the saute means it's gonna add some additional flavor. Gosh, and even through my stuffy nose, I can smell them. I can smell those onions already. That's awesome. Now, because I don't really like the same type of cook on the celery, and I didn't want the garlic to burn, they're gonna go in a little bit just before we add some water and stock that I already have to finish making the soup. Just giving these a good mix. Turn down the heat just a little bit. I didn't necessarily want it smoking. I don't want fond to start developing on the bottom, but I just want there to be a nice saute. I'm looking for just a little bit of translucency. Is that a word? I don't know. We can make it a word. They'll be translucent. You get the idea. I don't want them to be too soft because they're going to cook for a while, but I do want them to continue to expel a little bit of their moisture. But we're about ready to add the celery, and then we're going to start to add the rest of the ingredients to build the soup. Yeah, even with my little bit of a runny nose left, and it's almost time for some more meds, it smells amazing. I'm gonna give it just a couple more minutes, and then I'm gonna be adding some like chicken stock, some water, and then I have the leftover chicken that I am also going to add in here, and then we're just gonna turn it on, you know, low. At that point, we're just gonna let it start to simmer a little bit and just try to get all kinds of happy. The last thing for me to add right before I put in the additional liquid is the garlic, and that's just to kind of get it started to expel some of its amazing goodness too, but not to the point where it's been in here too long and sticking on the bottom. In it goes. All right, I haven't put any salt and pepper on this yet, but now's a good time for that. All right, we're starting to stick. Now, that's generally my cue for, let me go ahead and get the liquid in. So let's work on that. And hopefully just continuing to build some flavors here. And then we're gonna let it go. A couple of chunks in there. Still a little bit frozen. I do need to add a fair amount of water because I have a fair amount of chicken to put in here. I'm just gonna let this slowly start to come up to temperature, but I'm gonna get that water in and we'll keep building. I just put the water in the dish that I had the stock in. It's okay. So the other part that we haven't talked about in terms of the ingredient yet, and I don't put it in when I'm making like the base of the soup, is I do like a little bit of the smaller pasta the better, pastina or orzo, because eventually we're going to squeeze in some lime or lemon juice in here too. Some of those things that are just kind of citrusy and bright, and those are going to be really good flavor add. But on the day of is when I then will just make a side of pasta. Whatever you have on hand will work. Don't fret about it. Orzo works, pastina works. I mean, if you have just even egg noodles, that's fine too. You're gonna make a small amount on the day of as you're reheating this. I'm gonna continue to add some water and get that chicken in. Okay. Now it's going to simmer and boil off, so I think I need a little bit more water, but then we're going to be ready to put the lid on and turn it on low and just let it go for a little while. We'll come back in a little bit. Our soup is slowly heating up. It's meant to just kind of simmer for a few hours. The longer it simmers, the more flavors it takes on. It's going to be really good. I can still smell a lot of the vegetables and a lot of the flavor that we were able to impart on them, but just by sauteing them like we did. I can't wait to eat this. I'm gonna get some lime, not lime, but lemon juice in here. I'm gonna cut up a lemon and get it squeezed in. Just catch any seeds if you can catch them. That'd be helpful. Stir. I'm just gonna let it keep going.